Welcome to the fourth installment of Knights of the Last Age. Our first month in series of 5 foundation stones. On the first week, we did a basic intro. The second week was our vision, goal, and plan. The third week, which was last week, was our baseline 40. That's the inventory of where we are now, a starting point. And this being our fourth week, this is personal goals for the next 12 months. And I'm going to be very transparent today, and I'm going to be sharing my personal goals and just laying it out there for you. And it'll be proven in 12 months whether I was thinking right when I established these goals. And you'll see when I share them at the end. And then next week, our 5th week, this is the January of 2026, so we've got 5 Fridays in this month. So that allowed us to have 5 episodes in the first month to establish our 5 foundation stones for this work. But next week is going to be our very first Knight's Quest. And as part of Knights of the Last Age, we're going to have 12 challenges that are going to be extraordinary. I mean, I look back at my life and I say, what are the really, really amazing things that I did? I mean, it's amazing to go to work every day and to do a good job as unto the Lord and to be faithful and honorable. But you know, we get into routines where things are very normal. You know, we developed routines that oftentimes are based on just survival and maintaining. And we don't often go on, well, I'll get more into this next week, but we don't often have those great quests or those great challenges that really try us and build us. So that's going to be next week. I don't want to get too much into that now. So every house needs a foundation, and this is ours, moving forward. Every lasting work is built upon a rock. And that rock is Jesus and the wisdom that comes from His Word and from the Holy Spirit. The old saying goes, if you fail to plan, you might as well plan to fail. And there's a lot of truth in that. I've seen and read studies that show that 3% of the population that makes plans and goals accomplishes 97% of all the good in this world. And the 97% that don't plan and establish goals produce 3% of the good that comes into this world. So there's a lot of power in planning and establishing goals to reach for. There's something about just putting something down and focusing your mind on those objectives and striving to attain the goals that you place before yourself that actually helps to bring those things about. So how far are you willing to push yourself? You may look at my goals and think that they're crazy. And maybe they are. We'll see in 12 months. But keep in mind that I don't have a traditional job and my kids are grown. So I have time and I have energy to devote to these things. You may have 2 jobs and 4 kids living at home. So be reasonable. Challenge yourself, but be realistic in the goals that you establish. And remember, you miss every shot you don't take or fire. Dare greatly and reap abundantly. So let's go over my list and use that as an example or a loose template for your own personal goals. So my goals for the next 12 months. and write them out. I mean, get Google Docs, or you can write them by hand, just so that they're down on paper so that you can see them and that you can bring them up before yourself, hopefully on a daily basis, if not even more frequently than that. My first goal is to produce 52 episodes of Knights of the Last Stage and follow the course of instruction that's established for a year, because that's what this is all about, is being transformed. So that's my number one goal for this next year. And number two is to complete the 12 quests or challenges that go along with the Knights of the Last Stage program. And some of these are gonna be transformational. They're gonna be things that you can be proud of. Things, you know, Navy SEALs go through, I think it's called Hell Week, and other branches of the military go through tremendous challenges. And moving forward in their lives, when they face great adversity, they say, well, I did that, so I can do this. I've had experiences like that. I've done 2 outward bound trips. One was a 5-week mountain survival in the Colorado Rockies, and the other was a 3-week sea adventure where we basically lived on a lifeboat out to sea for 3 weeks and survived. And I'll be sharing more about those later, but there were so many times I thought I was just gonna collapse and that I couldn't go on, but I did. And I think that was the fuel that has helped me to overcome other things in my life, even to this day. So that's what these challenges or quests are gonna do for us. They're gonna be times where we can look back and say, I did that, so I can do this. I'm going to develop 3 night products. Those are things, and I'll tell you the first one is going to be a t-shirt, so that we can have a sense of unity and identify the culture that we believe in. And these are going to be things that are unique to Knights of the Last Stage. So those are things that I'm going to have to develop. And if you had any ideas of something that you'd love to see or to help you to identify with what this program is and what we're going to be doing, please mention that to me. Refine and distribute a film. So I have, since my childhood, I've had an affinity with the motion picture industry. Ever since I saw a movie in the 2nd grade called The Magic Sword. And if you watch it now, it's a little bit hokey, but back then it did something to me. And ever since then, I've had a love for the motion picture industry, and I hope to glorify the Lord through the creation of motion pictures. So this year, Lord willing, there will be a feature-length motion picture that will be coming out of Knights of the Last Stage. Produce one album. My precious wife is a singer-songwriter. She's already done 3 albums, 4, and she's going to do another one this year, and I'm going to be a part of that. DAW Mastery. DAW is a digital audio workstation. That's the modern way of recording music on your computer. That's amazing, but it's like learning another language, and it's something that I've really needed to do a long time to support my wife, and I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to master it. The next is in line with that, video tools and editing mastery. I mean, even to do an episode of Knights of the Last Stage, you have to edit. And I've been relying on my wife to help me with that, because I know a lot about editing, but I don't know the mechanics of actually working the software. So I've got to master that. 4 ministry events with music and teaching. These are 4 events, and I hope to maybe capture some on video and share those, where we will go, excuse me, and minister. I don't know what kind of groups. It might be a men's group. It might be a church. It might be a youth gathering. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's going to involve music and teaching. And 4 of those, 1 every quarter, we're going to be doing. And I'll probably do that with my wife so that we can share the gifts that God's given us to put this ministry together. But more on that. That's one of my goals. Develop a trust. There are financial vehicles that you just need to work out to protect your family. You should have insurance, and there's different things like that. You if you're doing certain things, you need an LLC or a corporation. And I've heard from those that are very wise that it's good to have a trust. And I'm going to be learning about that and hopefully developing that. And I'll share that with you as I learn what all that means and the benefits that come from that. Develop a blueprint for our studio. A vision. We own some land, and I have a vision and a dream to put a studio on that land. And that studio would have within it a music studio, a video production studio. It would have living quarters for my wife and I. It would have an editing suite. It would have all of the things that I needed, or that we needed, to produce content to send out into the world from one central location where we can do it all right there. So I'm not going to build it this year, I don't think, but I would like to have the blueprint done to where it makes sense and we can say, yes, this is what we need to make, to build, to carry on the ministry that we've been called to do. I would like to patent an invention. I think all of us have inventions and creativity within us. And I'm asking the Lord to give me an invention that I can patent and that I can distribute. Hopefully something that will benefit others and something that will generate money. I do have a goal of supporting many, many missionaries in my life, and that takes money. It takes money. You can have a noble effort, but you still have to facilitate that. And I know the Lord will provide for His work, and I trust Him in that. But I want to do everything I can using the gifts that He's given me to further the calling that's on my life. I write movie scripts, and I've written a couple that are just about done, and I would like to finish those, and I would like to sell one of them. The two movies that I'm talking about would require budgets that are beyond what I'm capable of doing, but I think the message is very powerful in each one. And if those could be made, even if it's by someone else that captures the vision and can produce the funding necessary to bring that about, I want to put a movie in their hands. So pray with me that God gives me the resources that I need to make that happen, both in finishing the script and then coming in contact with people that I can put this in their hands so that they can produce turn one of these movies or scripts into a movie. Write one book. I know this all sounds ambitious, and you may say, with my schedule, I only have time for one of these things, or maybe just to do the Knights program. That's okay. We all have to move from where we're at. And then other people that are overachievers might say, oh, this is your limited list. Well, I do that much in a month. I don't know. This is just what's on my heart. And we all have to follow honestly and humbly what God places on our hearts and try to fulfill that. So write one book. And if I do write that book, I'm going to make it available to the Knights first. Read the entire Bible. Now that's something we should do every year as Christians. Every year. I've been a Christian for over 40 years. But honestly, I can't say I've read the Bible 40 times. I've read it a lot, and I know it pretty well. But a fundamental goal of every Christian should be to read the Bible through, cover to cover, once a year. I'm going to do that this year. Media missionary designation. I think I mentioned it, but we have a goal of full-time being what I would coin media missionaries. That is using movies, music, social media content to reach the four corners of the earth with the message of Jesus Christ. And I want this year to become a media missionary. Family completely restored. My family is probably like yours. I'm so blessed with my family, but we've had challenges. Anybody that serves the Lord is going to face challenges. Just read the Bible. My family is no different. And God has done a work in each of our lives to bring us forward. But I said completely restored. I want every member of my family that I pray for every day to be living for Jesus Christ and living their life in the fullest and serving Him and being healthy and strong and powerful in the Lord. That's my prayer, and that's something that's on my list for this year. Learn an instrument. My instrument I'm going to learn is the guitar. And I won't master it in a year, but I'm going to learn it enough to master 5 songs. And I will play those songs to prove that I've done that. Travel, and I put down here a bit of vagary to the mountains and the sea. So one of my trips this year with my wife and I, we're going to the mountains somewhere. And the other, we're going to the ocean or the sea somewhere. I've got some ideas in mind, but I don't want to place them out there right now because it depends how time goes and finances and different things like that. But two great adventures in traveling this year, the mountain and the sea. Create 7 pieces of art. I've got a vision for some artwork that I want to create. And I'm going to start maybe with AI, with the vision that I have for pieces of art that will glorify Jesus and show His greatness through some of the things that He has done. So that's on my list. Master a daily schedule. I'm going to be sharing a daily schedule that I've developed for myself that hopefully you can take and develop a daily schedule for yourselves that incorporates a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about in building the body, soul, and spirit of a man, of a knight. You know, you say, getting from A to B, how do I get there? Well, your daily schedule has to cover some of the things that are basics to move you forward along that road. And we'll be talking a lot more about that. To have A1 health and physique. I did my baseline 40 and took my pictures and was not impressed. I've got room to grow in my physique and in my health. And I'm learning things about nutrition. I'm learning things about exercise, and whether it be weight training or aerobic exercise. I've got some good friends that are in the field and are willing to share things with me and teach me. And I'm going to be a good student so that I can get this body in good shape to carry my soul and spirit to do the work of the Lord. We're going to sell our house. We've decided to take our home and sell it, to take the equity, to move forward on the adventure God has placed before us. And in doing that, we're going to build another house to live in. It's not going to be bigger and better. It's going to be a beautiful home, but it's going to be much smaller, much more efficient. And I'll share in the future, it's going to be where we live at first until we move into the studio complex. And then we'll do something else with it, which I have a plan and a vision for. But how much house do you need, really? I mean, how much? I mean, people live in $1 million yacht and it's small. Or an RV, it's small. And yet, so it's not really a matter of how wealthy you are. It's a matter of what you need. And I know people that have houses so large, they don't even ever visit 3/4 of the house. And I'm sure there's reasons for that, but not for me. That's not what I'm looking at. So we're going to use the equity exchange to put into this work to move this forward and do what God's called us to do. And we're going to build a house on some land that I mentioned that we own. And I'll take you there to visit that down the road so you can see it's very rough right now. It's a forest, but we're going to carve out of it something amazing that we're going to give to the Lord and use. He's going to use that land to do some pretty great things. And then I'm going to purchase and master some tools that involve film, sound, AI, wardrobe, weapons, teaching programs, and software. So that's what's going on with me. Those are my personal goals. I've shared them with you, and I've made myself very vulnerable because if I don't do half of them, it's going to seem like a big fail. But if I get them all done, I hope it's going to encourage other men to dream big and to take risks and to say, hey, he did it, I can do it. But again, don't make a list like that if you don't have the freedom of time like I have and the ability to do that. You can't take from the needs of your family to follow an unrealistic dream. There is plenty enough dreaming that you can do while still facing and upholding the responsibilities that God has placed before you, but one step at a time. And, I've lived through the years of raising my children and things like that. I didn't have the freedom to do everything that I'm trying to do now. But with what you have, the opportunities that are before you, push yourself as much as you can in the direction of Jesus and becoming that knight that can serve him in these last days, in this last age. So again, as always, I wish you Godspeed. Keep the faith.